All right. And we are back. Welcome back to another episode of the Depressed Cincinnati Sports Fan Podcast. I tried recording the first time. I thought it wasn't going through, but apparently it was. We have officially lost it on this podcast. You can thank the Bengals for that. I'm back with Tommy. I'm Jesse. We're going to recap, unfortunately, the Bengals lost to the Philadelphia Eagles last Sunday, and we're going to dive into what's really going on with this organization. I'm not even talking about the season, just this Bengals team, this Bengals organization has really have screwed things over. And unfortunately, this is where the state of the Cincinnati Bengals are. And then there is a football game on Sunday against the Las Vegas Raiders. Big game because it's a must win, because they lose that game, then all hell's about to break loose. And again, I feel like all hell's already breaking loose with this team and this organization. Tommy, how are you doing on this Wednesday? Oh, before I start this podcast is provided by ibuprofen, because we live in Cincinnati where everybody's in pain, because every time you watch the Cincinnati sports team, they give you pain. So it's not paid. This is not a paid advertisement, but I'm just saying, as you know, all my ibuprofen has already been run out because of the Cincinnati Bengals, and it's only been like 7 games in this season. 8 games. Tommy, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good. I liked your instant reaction. I liked last week that you did without me. It's good to be back on here to get to talk some more, but definitely in the depressing part of the Depressed Cincinnati Sports Fan Podcast is in full swing, I would say.
Yeah.
How are you?
You know what? Honestly, I'm fine. It's just I just didn't expect this team to be 3-5 after 8 games of the season, and that's who they are right now. They're 3-5. They're a 3-5 football team. They're the likes with the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Indianapolis Colts, the Los Angeles Chargers. They're in that group, and that's pretty much. Yeah, that's what they said. I don't know. I'm like about to lose it right now, but we're good. We're gonna get through this podcast. Offense, defensive thoughts, rest of the season outlook. There's Bengals fans out here that's saying, well, hey, if they win on Sunday, then there's still a shot in the playoffs. I'm like, I'm not even thinking about playoffs, man. Can they string together a winning streak? Not with this roster. I don't really believe that. And then, like I said, they have a football game on Sunday against the Las Vegas Raiders, and that's not an easy game, okay? I don't care how bad the Raiders are. They can come in the Paycor Stadium and win, because the Bengals are 0-4 at home. Who would have thought that, right? 0-4 at home? Like, give me a break. But let's talk about the Eagles game on Sunday. It started off great. I mean, 17 plays, 70 yards, 10 minutes and 4 seconds off the clock. Joe was perfect. Honestly, Tommy, I really thought the offense was going to score like 30 points. It was just a masterpiece of an opening drive. Joe found Jamar, end zone, 7-0 Bengals. I'm thinking to myself, okay, let's go. Defense holds the Eagles to a field goal. I'm like, okay, the offense gets the ball back. They go 11 plays, 61 yards, 4 minutes and 38 seconds off the clock. I'm thinking, okay, they're going to score a touchdown. It ended with a field goal. However, in that offensive drive, Joe had to do Mr. Joe Burrow Houdini stuff on 3rd and 22 from the Bengals 46. This man was running, scrambling, looking. At the last second, he found Gesicki. Mike Gesicki had one hell of a first half. He got the first down there. He fired up the crowd, put his arms up, and I'm like, here we go. Bengals settled for a field goal, so it's 10-3 Bengals. And then the Bengals' third offensive drive, they go 6 plays, 44 yards, 1 minute and 26 seconds off the clock. 2nd and 10 from the Bengals 20. Now, this is the play where I was like, damn. They finally got Jermaine Burton out in the field, and Burrow found him for a 41-yard reception. Jermaine Burton beat Darius Slay, who is a veteran in this league, been a great cornerback in this football league. I'm like, why don't the Bengals use Jermaine Burton in this game? Well, they did in this football game, but we're like 8 games in the season, and I just feel like the Bengals, you drafted him for a reason, right? You're the 3rd round draft pick. I think he's at this point where, okay, he's still a rookie, but I'm pretty sure he can, run a play. He's not stupid. So in that play, I'm like, okay, why haven't this team has been doing this all year, giving Jermaine Burton chances? Because his speed, he can, any cornerback in the league, I feel like he can win with his speed. And that's what Joe found him down the field for that big 41-yard reception. Unfortunately, in that drive, Bengals go for a field goal, and we all thought that Evan McPherson was Money Mac. We got to take away that title. He's not money anymore. He missed a 54-yard field goal. Snap was great. The hold was great. This guy missed it wide left. Wasn't even close. And I just threw my hands up. I'm saying, what's wrong with Evan McPherson? We'll talk about that here shortly. And then the first drive of the second half for the offense, they go 13 plays, 70 yards, 6 minutes and 19 seconds off the clock. It was a great efficient drive, sense of urgency because the Eagles scored to begin the second half, and then there was a Chase Brown touchdown. I'm talking about the offense right now, but they weren't the problem on Sunday. And then the second drive of the offense in the second half, the 4th and 1 play from the Bengals 39. I agree with them going for it, but I don't know what Zach Taylor was doing, and he's done this plenty of times where it's 4th and short. And this football team, when it comes to like 3rd or 4th down situations where you just need to get at least like 1 or 2 yards, they're like the worst in the NFL. They try to overcomplicate it, and Joe was in shotgun formation. He throws the ball to Jamar Chase behind the sticks, and then Cooper DeJean made a great tackle, -2 yards, and that was pretty much the turning point in the game. And then the Eagles offense just blitzed the Bengals in that second half, and the Bengals couldn't recover from that. They couldn't. And then the third offensive drive of the second half, Joe throws a pick. It was a nice interception by C.J. Gardner-Johnson. And then the fourth drive, Gesicki fumbled. And that was pretty much it for the offense in the second half. Joe was 26 for 37 for 234, a touchdown to pick. He was sacked once. The running game, once again, abysmal, only 58 yards. Mike Gesicki, like I said, had a good game. 7 catches, 73 yards, 8 targets. Jamar Chase, 9 catches, 54 yards, and 11 targets. I don't think the offense is the problem in this football game. But Bengals receivers versus the Eagles on Sunday, not named Jamar Chase. 95 snaps, 7 targets, 2 catches for 45 yards. So Jermaine Burton had that 41 reception on 3 targets, 24 snaps for Burton. Wow. Trent Irwin had 1 target, 1 reception, 16 snaps. Yoshi Boss, no catches, a drop, 3 targets, 51 snaps, and Charlie Jones had 0 targets on 4 snaps. I don't know, and T. Higgins didn't play. So obviously the offense was missing T. And I'm not going to talk about T. He is a vital offensive piece for this football team, but this man has played, 4 seasons in Cincinnati, and he's played I think they're saying 65% of the offensive snaps because dude just always gets hurt. I want T to stay here, but at this point, I don't because Mans will be out for 2 games, then will be on the field for 4 straight games, and then an injury report comes up on Friday saying that he got his quad. He hurt his quad on Thursday, and an injury report came out on Friday that he's going to be questionable, and then on game day he was declared out. I don't know. That's why the Bengals. There's one smart thing the Bengals front office did. It's not re-sign T. Higgins. It's because of that. It's just the injuries. It's not about his play. It's just his injury history. And that's pretty much it. And Andre Yoshibas. Listen, I like the guy. I like his last name. He's a Princeton dude, so he's smart. But in games where T has not played, so it's been 3 games, Yoshi has run 107 routes, but only 12.7% target share. So in week 1 against the Patriots, T did not play. He had 3 catches for 26 yards. Week 2 against the Chiefs, he had 2 catches, 2 catches, 7 yards, 2 touchdowns. Yeah, but they were all in the red zone. Listen, I'll give him credit for that. However, 2 catches, 7 yards, come on now. And then last week against the Eagles, 7 catches, 0 yards, and a drop. I love Yoshi, I do, but I just I don't think he is the long-term solution to the Bengals wide receiver 3 spot or wide receiver 2. Yeah, wide receiver 2 spot, because I know T's going to leave next year. I know you like Yoshi, but I just think at times he'll just disappear. And I think he does hurt the offense when he's not like out there producing. And he's good in the red zone. That's great, but I want him to like have like catches down the field vertically. You just don't see that with him on the slot. Before the season, Bengals are saying, yeah, Andre Yoshibach, he's going to run a lot of slants and slots, and he's going to pretty much be like Tyler Boyd. Well, he hasn't been like that. And I really do miss Tyler Boyd right now. I really do. And then the run game. I know we said after the Panthers game that this Bengals run offense is really good. I think that we were kind of like prisoner in the moment. This running game stinks, okay? They ran the ball 17 times on 43 yards. They ran it too much in this football game. For the longest time, the Bengals really haven't focused on the running game. They can't run block. They don't have a good scheme. And they don't have a well-rounded running game. It's been like that for years, even with Joe Mixon. And you see Joe Mixon right now thriving with the Texans, being one of the best running backs in the league. I don't know how he did it in Cincinnati those 7 years with how bad the Bengals are when it comes to running the football. That's all Joe Mixon, and kudos to him. But this team, I don't know. This team is not explosive. It's a mixture of scheme and play calling. They're too talented to be the way they are right now. And the Eagles were having their way when it comes to explosive plays. Like, it's great that the Bengals had that 17-plus yard touchdown drive to begin the game. Or 17 plays to begin the game. However, the Eagles were getting their touchdowns like real quick, and pretty much they were going down the field at ease because they were getting those chunk yards. Something the Bengals weren't doing in this football game. It was pretty much they were slowing the pace, which is fine, but it's like you kind of need those explosive plays. So that was frustrating. And obviously the game was lost after the failed 4th-and-1 play, and then the interception and the fumble. And this game was approaching a shootout in the second half because the Eagles came out the gate and scored, the Bengals scored. So I was thinking to myself, okay, this game is going to end up being like a 34-31 type of final score. But nope, it ended in a Eagles blowout in the second half. So yeah, I mean, the offense is just, it's not an offense, okay? I think it's just, like I said in the beginning of the podcast, it's an organization thing, but we'll talk about that later. So what's your thought on offense?
Yeah, I agree that there are lots of points that you just made and that I'm about to make that feel like we've made them several times over the last few years, but they never seem to get addressed. Yeah. Joe Burrow is still really excellent, still one of the best quarterbacks in the entire NFL, and we have a lot of really awesome pieces, but this is more just coaching and preparation for why we can't execute and why we can't scheme the way we want to scheme things. Mm-hmm. Chase Brown is really, really good too. But we just, with the play designs that we run with him, he can be explosive when there's an opportunity for it. But half the time we're not run blocking the way that we need to be. And it could be partially due to a lot of the offensive line talent that we brought in I think a lot of our main focus was just to make sure that they were pass protectors. We didn't really try or at least prioritize getting hybrid guys that can block both pass and the run super efficiently. But we loaded up on the pass protection, and that has gotten a lot better, truthfully. There are times where Joe's kind of under duress for a little bit, like the Giants game is an example of that. And they have a good defensive line, so it's not anything necessarily against them. But I just think we need to do a better job of scheming things differently, because I think that we should be running the ball a lot more. I mean, Joe Burrow made a kind of like a dig at the team a little bit at the end of the last game, where he was basically saying, like, if we just throw all day long, no one thinks we're going to run the ball. No one buys into the play action. And then it makes it more difficult to throw because the edge rushers can just send 4 or 5 guys every single time because they know we're going to pass it. And I mean, we've talked about that on here many times where we are one of the teams in the NFL towards the bottom in amount of times that we even attempt play action passes. And it's just because no one's going to buy it. And if you don't commit to having an established run game, no one's going to buy the play action. It doesn't open up those deep balls quite to the level you'd want to. And we still get decent deep balls and explosive plays, but honestly, a lot of those were due to quality and how good Jamar Chase is when Jermaine Burton gets plays like that, and Joe Burrow making the right throws in stride deep down the field, and are less about being able to scheme things and block efficiently. On that note, we do need Orlando Brown Jr. back. It's night and day how well this offensive line seems to actually block when he's in there versus not. And a couple points, I know you mentioned like that you're frustrated with Yoshi, and I am too. I do like him, but I agree with your point that when we need him to step up the most and fill in the role of T. Higgins being out, we know he's not T. Higgins. We know he's not going to have a game where he's going to go for 100 yards. Like, it probably maybe once or twice in his career, but it's not going to be a frequent thing. It's not what we really got him for. I think he's a good 3 or 4 wide receiver on a team. He's athletic. He has proven to be solid in the red zone, and I think he brings things. He's a good block. He's a pretty decent blocker for when we do screen routes and stuff like that. Not bad. So he has good qualities, but I agree. He doesn't elevate to the level of the number 2 receiver when we need him to, which has gotten frustrating. What I think that we've done more this year than certainly in the Joe Burrow era, but at least in a while that I can remember, is we use our tight ends a lot more this year, which I'm cool with. And Gesicki's been playing really well. There's a couple games where he was a little more quiet, but for the most part, he's been a really awesome addition. We got him for pretty cheap. That's one of those examples where the cheap free agent actually turns out being good. And then Eric All is having a solid rookie year. I like him a lot. I feel like our tight end room so far, I'm really satisfied with. But there's parts of this offense that are just confusing, I guess. Like, Jamar Chase leads the league in receiving yards, and I think he's 5th in yards per game because a couple guys have bye weeks, but leading the league in receiving yards is an insane accomplishment. I think 3 of the top 5 are LSU guys, so it's just like it's a good receiver college to go to. But the part I want to focus on, what you talked about with that 4th and 1 scenario. And we'll talk about this more later as we talk about kind of moving forward in the season and things like that. But the part that I just cannot wrap my head around is why on 4th and 1, 4th and 2. I'm with you. I say go for it. I'm all good with going for it. But if you have one of the best quarterbacks in the entire NFL, if you're going to pass the ball, let 4 or 5 guys run real routes and let him make the right decision, because he's proven to you time and time again, this season especially, that he will make the right decision. Very infrequently is he putting the ball in harm's way this year, and he's been really good at converting 3rd and 4th downs when we need it. Why are we throwing the ball behind the line of scrimmage? I understand. I'm sure if you ask Zach, maybe they did ask and I just missed this, but I'm sure he would say something along the lines of like, well, Jamar is, slippery. He's really good after the catch. We wanted to give him a shot, but like, you can't do that on 4th down. It's just irresponsible, coaching malpractice, whatever you want to call it. If it's 4th down and you're on your own side of the field, I'm good with going for it. If you're like near the 40, I don't mind that, but we have to be able to call better plays and let Joe Burrow, let the ball be in his hands. He's the smartest, not the smartest guy on the team maybe, but he's a very smart guy. He's going to make the right decision. let guys run real routes and make it difficult. I mean, gosh, you don't think like if we're on a 4th and 1, you don't think a drag route by Jermaine Burton that he couldn't blaze by somebody, or Mike Gesicki even doing like a shallow crosser, quick slant. He's gonna have a linebacker on him, like or a shorter corner. Like there's so many better options for this. I love Jamar. And it has nothing to do with him. It's just like that cannot be the play call in that scenario. So that's frustrating. Nobody else. And also, like, nobody's surprised that we're running these 4th down screen routes because we do it all the time. And so, yeah, Cooper DeJean made a good tackle and wrapped up Jamar, made it difficult. He couldn't really move. But, I mean, it's just so much easier to predict that we're going to do some nonsense like that instead of just running 4 or 5 routes and letting him make a decision. The last few parts I have here are just that I feel like our running versus passing diversity here is just crazy. If you think about on like crucial downs, right? So, I mean, if it's 3rd and 7, 3rd and 5, I'm all for passing. So I'm not saying that we shouldn't be passing or anything like that. But if you look at our first downs in this game against the Eagles, or I forget what this time range was. Converted first downs on pass plays, 15. Converted first downs on run plays, 3. So again, I'm fine with giving Joe Burrow the reins here and letting him make the right decisions, but we have to be able to establish some sort of a run game because even the best teams and the best quarterbacks in the league, if everyone thinks you're just going to run or throw every single play, it makes it a lot easier to get to the quarterback, to get pressure on, because you can send more edge rushers in with more confidence and you can have just a completely different like defensive package. It makes it difficult to actually like play well, but so we need to be able to find some way. And it's easy to just say like, oh, we got to run the ball more. And it's not just that. We have to run the ball better and smarter because, I mean, the number 3 rusher in the NFL right now is Jordan Mason. And no disrespect, but he's a backup running back and he's 3rd in the entire NFL because their offensive line is really good and they're really smart with how to run the football. We have none of that. We need to figure out a way to even get a semblance of that because, I mean, I can't imagine how many yards Chase Brown would have if he had the 49ers offensive line and scheme. So it's just like, we got to find a way to open him up. And just for some positives, we only had 1 team penalty, which was a really good day. A lot of times that translates into more success. And we were 10 for 13 on 3rd down conversions, which is really solid. So there are a lot of positives. Joe Burrow's really good. Jamar Chase is really good. We're using our tight ends efficiently. Generally speaking, we're improved on the pass blocking side of the house. We just need a better run scheme. We need to diversify the play calling a little bit. We need to make smarter play calls on crucial downs, 3rd and 4th downs. We need to be calling better plays in those scenarios. And then here's the thing I'll say about the special teams. I like Charlie Jones. I'm not bashing Charlie Jones by any means, but I feel like it's just like top to bottom that something's fucked up with the coaching because like it feels like every stat I check, we have someone at the bottom of the league in dang near every category. It feels like besides quarterback and wide receiver. If you look at all of the 19 players in the NFL that have at least 10 punt returns, Charlie Jones has the 5th lowest punt return average. And then he has 5 attempts for 200 yards, which is on kick returns, which would be number 1 in the entire NFL. It's the best average in the entire NFL on those 5. But, and I know you can't just take this away, but if you took away his 100-yard return, that's 4 attempts for 25 yards, which is then back at the bottom of the list. Mm-hmm. So, and I know you can't just like take out someone's best play and then do the average. That's not fair, but like you'd have to do that to everybody. But I'm illustrating the point that like we can't even get a dang return to work properly. And so something is wrong with the bones of this operation in the organization that like why are we allowing this behavior. That's all I got.
All great points, sir. I want to go back to your about the running game. Zach was talking with the media today, and he says the Bengals can be a little more physical at the point of attack to improve their poor running game.
I agree.
Yeah.
What are you going to do about it?
Do it. I feel like Zach, every time they lose and he talks to the media on Wednesday, I just feel like as a fan, I'm just like, dude, you're not giving me any hope. You're not like, it's not like I'm, oh yeah, Zach, that's a great presser. I'm ready for Sunday. No, it's pretty much the same old, like, his demeanor's like, I just got to keep this job. So I'm just going to just say the basic blame thing of a person that is like in charge of something to say. Yeah. And then there's one more quote he said. He's like, overall, everyone's got to be more detailed when it comes to the weak run game production. I'm like, I get it. I think players need to be, it's Zach Taylor, okay?
What does that even mean?
I don't know.
More detailed on what?
I don't know. Detail on what? Like how to run through, through your blockers? Like, come on, Zach. We're 8 games into the season, and you're trying to figure out if your team needs to be more detailed in your running style or be more physical. Like, why is this a problem 8 games into the season? I know players need to...
No, yeah, this is an off-season discussion for sure. Exactly. This is not a mid-season discussion.
Right. So this is like you said, this is a coaching thing. And I don't know if our coaches are... I don't know. Man, it feels like 2021 to 2022 was like 15 years ago. I don't know what I don't know what has happened. Are we... I don't know. I really don't know. But let's talk about the defense, because I think everyone was prisoner of the moment of, we allow 7 points to the Giants on Sunday Night Football on the road. Woo. And then we allowed 14 points to the Cleveland Browns last Sunday. We're like, oh yeah, look at the defense. I think they're back. I'll be honest with you, Tommy. Those 2 wins we had, I wasn't remote. Like, I'm happy they won, but I wasn't like, oh yes, we're back. Hell no. Because the offense was not good. The defense, they were improved, but they were playing against weaker offenses. And I told people on this podcast last week, you're playing the Eagles, a way better offenses than the Giants and the Browns. This is going to be a test. And from the first half, defense played well. They allowed only 10 points. Yeah, that sucked that Jalen Hurts got his elbow across the play in the end zone. I mean, initially when I saw that, I was like, I think the Bengals got him, but, replay said it, and then he barely got it. I still hate the tush push. They got to get rid of that shit. But defense, 10 points. You told me the defense only allowed 10 points to the Eagles' offense in the first half. I'm thinking to myself, we're winning this football game, but it was tied. Go figure. I'll be honest with you. I had a bad feeling the Bengals were going to lose that game into halftime. When it was 10-10, I'm like, we're not winning this game. And that's not me being a fan saying, you're being all negative. No, I've seen this movie before. The Bengals were outplaying the Eagles in this football game in the first half, and it's tied? No way. That's a bad omen right there. And sure enough, the Bengals defense allowed 4 straight scoring drives in the second half. Let's talk about the Bengals defensive line, because on this podcast a lot religiously this year, we've talked about how this Bengals defensive line, other than Trey Hendrickson, can't get to the quarterback. Well, in this game, Bengals had only 2 pressures from guys not named Trey Hendrickson, all right? 1 hurry by B.J. Hill and 1 quarterback hit by Joseph Ossai, okay? Shutter rankings, Sam Hubbard, Miles Murphy, McKinley Jackson, Chris Jenkins Jr., and some guy named Lawrence Guy that we picked up 4 weeks ago combined for 0 pressures on 54 total rushes. 0. You couldn't get 1 or get 1 from those guys? Like, Trey Hendrickson was getting worked by Fred Johnson, a backup who used to play for the Bengals. I was like, really? I mean, I get it. Trey Hendrickson is in every offensive line game plan whenever you're playing the Bengals. If you shut down him, it's over, okay? You're going to just annihilate the Bengals offensive line because they got no players. And I can't believe that great value Fred Jackson over here is working Trey Hendrickson. I could not believe that. And I don't know. Like Sam Hubbard, okay, on the touchdown play where Jalen Hurts found Devontae Smith, I think Jalen Hurts had all the time in the world to throw that beautiful deep pass from Hurts to Devontae Smith. Sam Hubbard was getting blocked by a second string tight end for more than 5 seconds. I watched the all 22 on that play. I saw Sam Hubbard getting worked by him. I was like, you gotta you gotta be kidding me. Really? A second string tight end? You're getting blocked by him by more than 5 seconds? That's sad, okay? I like Sam Hubbard, okay? The Cincinnati kid, the fumble in the jungle, okay? He's washed, okay? He's done, okay? Stop it. And on that touchdown play, tell me why Jordan Battle, why was Devontae Smith one-on-one with any of Bengals safeties? Like, why? I was like, are you kidding me? Devontae Smith is like one of the best receivers, wide receiver number 2 receivers in the league. Why is he one-on-one? Why is there no double team? I can't believe that. I'm sorry, but our corners, as much as CTB can be like flashy here and there, I think I've given up on him. I don't think DJ Turner is that all good. He had speed, coming out of the college, 4.2, 40, whatever he did in the combine. That's good. Mike Hilton's old, okay? He's like, what, 30-something? I think he's the second best defensive player on the team other than Trey Hendrickson. Really? Are you kidding me right now? And our safety room, okay, we brought back Von Bell, right? Because he's the guy that will help the safety room when it comes to being the leadership and his veteran presence. He's old, okay? Like, what do you expect from a guy that's like 29, 30 years old, okay? Playing safety in this league with a bunch of fast receivers, he's getting burnt, okay? Geno Stone, that signing did not work. There's no good players on this football team when it comes to on defense other than Trey Hendrickson. There really isn't. And when it comes to the Bengals in depth, it's laughable. There's no depth on this team. There really isn't. And that comes to the organization. So that's pretty much all I got to say to the defense. They're pretty much people got so like, oh, they're back against the Giants and Browns. Oh, the defense is back. No, they aren't. Okay. And I know Lou Anarumo, he's probably gonna get let go after this season just because he is the defensive coordinator. But it's not all on him, okay? Half of it is on him because he is the defensive coordinator, but he just doesn't have players. He doesn't. This team doesn't. I look at the Steelers and I'm like, man, I am so jealous. Like, I hate the Steelers. I know the schedule is easy as hell, but they got really good defensive players. And I hate Trenton Johnson Watt, but he's fucking good. The Bengals defense is, and it comes to drafting. And this organization, when it comes to drafting players over the last 3 years, have done a bad job. And you see it on the field this year. It's a lost cause. That's pretty much all I got to say about them. I feel bad for Trey because he's doing the very best he can, but he's going to get double teamed every single game. And I just can't get over the fact that he got worked by Fred Johnson, a former Bengal. He didn't do much here when he was with Cincinnati. Unbelievable. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with all that. The deep. Oh yeah. No, I mean, zero pressure is insane, and that's part of this too. Is like, you said how like Trey was getting clamped a little bit because the Eagles did what we talked about on here last week, maybe 2 weeks ago also, but last week for sure, which is it makes no sense how any offensive coordinator with half of a brain wouldn't just double team Trey on literally every snapback because no one is going to get through, even if they have an uneven advantage. So like I would be doing, that's what the Eagles did. He was very rarely one-on-one against anybody. And when they were doing that, they had like quick routes. And so it didn't really matter. Anytime where they actually needed protection, they double teamed him. Sam Hubbard, I like. He's a decent, I like him for some things. He's a good run stopper. He's been fun for the organization. He's local to Cincinnati, but he is maybe the worst pass rusher in the NFL from a pure edge rusher standpoint, he's probably bottom 5. It's not his specialty. He's not good at it. He can run block. But he seems more like a rotation kind of defensive lineman that you put in when you think they're going to run rather than an every down guy. Go ahead.
Sorry. I have a stat when it comes to you talking about the pass rushers, right? I forgot to point this out. So the Bengals defensive line, when it comes to Pro Football Focus, pass rush win rate metric at their position, okay? Minimum of 30 rushes, all right? So let's go with the edges. Trey Hendrickson's number 7 out of 39. Out of 139 players in this league. Number 7, that's great. Osai, 85th. Sam Hubbard, 111th. Miles Murphy, 127th. Let's go to defensive line. BJ Hill, 26th. Not too bad. Sheldon Rankins, 105th. McKinley Jackson, 128th. And then Chris Jenkins Jr., 138th. Yeah, there you go. Sorry, go ahead.
Jeez. So, so we have two defensive linemen out of the 8 you just listed that aren't in the bottom half.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't even realize. Not that I thought he was playing well by any means, but I did not think that Miles Murphy would be ranked worse than Sam Hubbard in a pass rush metric. So that's depressing.
He's coming back from his injury, so.
All right, yeah, fine. I'll give him a few more weeks to figure it out, but that's tough. Also, just like if you want another depressing stat, because we didn't really talk about this yet, but if you think about this, we took a 10-minute opening drive, touchdown drive to start the game, and we still allowed 37 points, even though we took the first 10 minutes of the clock, almost the entire first quarter, and they still put up 37. If we didn't take that super long first drive, who knows what they would have done. And they had 31 minutes and 48 seconds time of possession, which is more than 1 point scored for every minute of possession, which is wild. And look, Jalen Hurts was playing really well. I felt like he played well all day. He was making good throws. But if you have 4 or 5 seconds of a clean pocket on dang near every drop back, Jalen Hurts is a good enough guy to make those throws and make the right decisions. It's, he's not even close to a scrub. He's a very good quarterback. The only way that you can beat Jalen Hurts, especially with this tush-push stuff, is to get constant pressure and make him make bad decisions because he has to process too quickly. And that has been the area that he has struggled in the most. When he has protection, he's going to dice you all day long. And we gave him the perfect time to do that. He only threw 20 passes, but was 16 for 20, so 80%. 236 yards on those, which is 11.6 average yards per pass. Only 1 touchdown in the air, but 2 more tush pushes, 0 turnovers forced, 0 sacks of Jalen Hurts. And that throw that you mentioned from Hurts to Devontae Smith was a very good strike. It's hard for anything for a corner or a safety to do in those scenarios, but I agree. He shouldn't have been put in that position where we get no pressure and Hurts is able to just make whatever throws he wants and deliver strike after strike. And it just makes it very, very complicated and difficult to stop anybody from doing whatever they want when they have all time in the world to do it. Mm-hmm. We knew that would be the case because, I mean, as the stats you just brought up showed and the friggin' eye test every week that I watch this team, nobody can play defensive line besides Trey Hendrickson and BJ Hill. I do like Chris Jenkins. Chris Jenkins, I think, has some stuff to do. Miles Murphy, I think, will improve, hopefully, once he gets back to being fully healthy and stuff like that. But right now,
first round
as it stands, brutal. They're really, really just not good. We never get any pressure on anybody outside of Trey Hendrickson. I think he's still tied for 3rd in the entire NFL in sacks, even though everybody knows that he's the only one that can do anything. So he's a dog. I like him, but it's hard to watch the defense when they're playing this poorly. And you're right. I mean, we're 0-4 at home. We haven't beaten a single team that has an above 500 record. And when we look good against the Giants and the Browns, it's because they hadn't switched to Jameis Winston for full time yet, and because Daniel Jones isn't very good, and they have no Malik Neighbors. I think the Giants may have won that game if they had Malik Neighbors. So I don't even want to get into it.
Browns would have.
I don't have any
last week.
Yeah. So I agree. Our defense, the stats kind of got inflated by playing some just not talented offenses so far this year. We got week 1 Patriots. We had the Browns, who have been stagnant or not very good, and Nick Chubb was on a little bit of a pitch count, didn't really play in the second half. Giants are really not a good offense at all without Malik Neighbors. Tyrone Tracy's solid, but overall. And the Panthers. I mean, Andy Dalton is not bad, but like they're not an insane offense. So like the teams that we've been able to, keep the score low and play well defensively are just not good offenses. And so when you play a good offense, it looks a lot worse. And that's what happened. And that's pretty much all I got.
Preston, you know what's crazy? And you always talk about this during games. Why does this defense always play zone? Why is their cornerbacks always... For the life of me, I'm like, why is this defensive unit playing zone? And then...
Beyond me.
Right. And there was one play. It was a tying touchdown when the Eagles were driving right before the half. 3rd and 16. A.J. Brown, their best receiver, gets the pass, and he's like, oh, snap. There's no one here. I can just, lunge and get the first down. Why is he open? I screamed. I was like, why? Why is he wide open? Playing zone. It made no sense. I was like, this team, Lou. And that's one thing I give Lou so much, shit. It's like, bro, why are you always playing zone? I don't get it. But for me, these corners, they can't hold up against receivers in this league. They can't. Unless you're playing like the Giants without Neighbors. But what are we doing? And the Panthers, at least they traded Deontay Johnson to the Ravens. Well, good for them. But Bengals opponents, here's a stat. Here's a crazy stat for you. Bengals opponents when going for it on 4th down. So last year, 7 for 15. Okay, that's average, I guess. This year, 12 for 17. 73%. That's insane. And then also, right, did the Bengals punt at all in this football game? I don't think they did. No.
Not that I remember.
Because they had touchdown, field goal, missed field goal, end of half, touchdown, interception, fumble. Yeah, no punts.
Yeah, you're right.
And then, like I talked about this about a month ago, the Bengals defense aren't forcing punts. They're in for a long day. I don't think did the Eagles punt? No, I don't think the Eagles punt in this football game. Yeah, they didn't. They didn't. Unbelievable. And let's go back to special teams and let's talk about Evan McPherson. I remember last year you were very critical of McPherson when it comes to missing field goals. Now I get it. I get what you're saying because I don't know what happened to McPherson after his rookie season. Because you look, his first 2 seasons, when it comes to kicking field goals 50 plus or more, he was 14 for 16. The last 2 seasons, 10 of 18. And this year, his field goal percentage, 76.9%. That's good for last in the NFL when it comes to kickers. His extra point percentage is 94.7%. That's 30th. I don't know. I don't know what's happened to McPherson, but I'd like to give you credit because you kind of pointed at that last year. And I was just saying, no, Tommy, he's just it happens. No, this is happening regularly. And we paid this man this offseason. And I think the Bengals are probably going to be like, damn, we kind of paid him for this, and this is what display he's putting out there. I like Evan, but he's not not reliable anymore. He's not. What do you think?
No, I agree with that point, and I also like Evan a lot. And generally speaking, the thing that I said last year and seems to kind of be true this year too, a little bit, is just that like I feel like he has only ever been good in ultra clutch pressure scenarios and just mundane kicks he can't seem to get himself to care about or like to make. I don't know if that's like some weird focus thing he has or like I don't know, but I agree. I think he's definitely taken a step back in I mean, bottom 3 in extra point percentage, which 94 sounds high, but for a kick where no one's trying to block you and is like 20 yards, should be 98 at the least percent. Like you should be making all of them, and then you get a bad snap once or twice, but like you should be making these. And yeah, he's I think 50% on any field goal past 40 yards or 45 yards or something. Like he's playing very, very well on 40 and less, but past 40, he's not playing very well, and 40 is not long enough to be your cutoff of when you're very efficient. Because like you got to be able to trust that you can kick a 50-yard field goal when you need it, and it's starting to feel like we can't do that anymore.
Right, and when he missed a field goal, that was a momentum change right there, because I was like, you kick that field goal, you make it, you're up 10, you miss it, and the Eagles go down the field and score a touchdown. Like, he's done that a couple of times where he'll miss a field goal, and then the opposing offense gets momentum off that and saying, oh, okay, and then go down the field and score, and that's like pretty much the turning point in the game. It's a mess right now. So, what's the outlook for the rest of the regular season? I don't know. They're 3-5. Like I said, they got Vegas this weekend, and then a short turnaround because they play Baltimore in Baltimore on Thursday Night Football, and then you go to LA to take on the Chargers, and you play the 6-2 Steelers at home. The fact that 6-2 just makes me want to throw up. And you play the Cowboys on Monday night, and then you play at Tennessee, and then Cleveland comes to town on Thursday Night Football. And you have Denver, who is surprisingly 5-3, and then you have the Steelers to end the season. Joe said in his presser that they have to win 10 games. He said 10 games will get them in the playoffs. But then you have teams like the Chargers and Broncos, and I'll still put the Steelers in that mix because I just don't. They haven't really played anyone yet. But hey, they're winning the games on the schedule they should supposed to win. So good for them, I guess. But you have those teams in the wild card mix. It's going to be tough, and every game from here on out, it's not a guarantee. Like people are saying Vegas, no, they still got Max Crosby, even though he don't want to be there. But he can probably get like 5 sacks on like who's going to be matched up on Sunday. What, Cody Ford? Good Lord, if Orlando Brown Jr. doesn't play on Sunday. So this team reminds me of the teams in 06 and 07, and then 2016 to 2017. So the 05 team, Carson Palmer, Chad Johnson, TJ, Rudy, Chris Henry, God rest his soul. That team obviously won 11 games, and then you know what happened against the Steelers in the wildcard game. The next season, that team took a step back, and then they couldn't really recover for the next like 3 seasons until 09 when they made the playoffs and then lost to the Jets. The 2015 team, Andy Dalton, AJ Green, started off 8-0. It was great, right? And Andy gets hurt against the Steelers, and then in comes AJ McCarron, should have won the playoff game. They lose to the Steelers in the wildcard game. And after that season, disappointment. And then it was 4 years of the Bengals just going, whoop, and then they fire Marvin, then COVID happened, and then we get Joe Burrow. It's starting to feel like that way, where you have the success of 2021 and 2022, and then last year, obviously, Joe gets hurt, but the team was still struggling. But they weren't struggling. They were starting to gain momentum, and then Joe gets hurt. This year, you lose to the Patriots at home. I don't care if T doesn't play. Yeah, he didn't play, but you lose to the Patriots at home in your opener, okay? And then the defense historically was bad, allowing 30-plus points. And you're 0-4 at home. And now the locker room is just, I feel like there's something wrong. And I think it's coaching. I think it's also just scheming. But it's starting to feel like if they don't end up with like a winning record, then it's going to feel like the teams of 05 and then 2015, where the next season or the next seasons to come, they're going to be coming down back to earth, and it's like it's going to be bad times. And I don't want that to be the case, but people are saying, "Oh, Joe's going to demand a trade, or him and Jamar Chase are going to leave." You can just tell by the demeanor in their pressers. They're fed up because it's like there's no way this with the talent that this ball club have, they should not be 3-5 right now. And I think they won't say it because they don't want to rat their coach out, but I think Jamar at times, I think he's getting tired of Zach Taylor. And I think Joe as well is like, dude, like, come on now. Like, some of your play calling is like, really, like, give me the ball. You guys pay me so much money. Let me do my thing. But Joe's just too nice of a guy. And Jamar Chase is he's unapologetic, okay? He'll say what he wants to say, but I think he said after the game where he was like, yeah, that 4th down call, yeah, I wish we would have done more, but hey, that was the play call. It is what it is. Deep down, Jamar is probably saying, what the fuck was that play call? Like, you could have gave me like a seam route or anything, like a vertical. I would have done work. Like, he's Jamar Chase. He's one of the best receivers in the league. I think that if they lose on Sunday, I think the locker room will be lost. And I already think the season's over, but this is just the things that come down the road, because people say, "Oh yeah, let's wait till the draft next year." Do you trust this team when it comes to drafting players? Hell no. Unfortunately, I am looking at draft boards. I'm looking at players in college right now. I'm thinking, "Oh wow, these type of players can add value to this team next year and in the years to come." But I had to remind myself, wait a minute, that's right. This is the Bengals. This is Duke Tobin. They are not really good at scouting players. They just wish and think, okay, I think they can. So I believe they can develop. So let's just draft them. Okay. And then let's see if we can develop them. No, you can't develop players. It's just, there's proof. Yeah. There's proof. Like, you have Joseph Ossai. We've been waiting on him to take the next step. Hasn't lived up to fruition at all. Miles Murphy, yes, he was hurt. He's just now coming back. I know he's young. I just don't trust the Bengals when it comes to developing players. So I don't think Miles Murphy is going to be the guy we all thought he's going to be. I didn't think he's going to be like a 10-sacker guy per season, but at least a productive pass rusher, right? But I don't trust the Bengals when it comes to developing him. And yeah, I don't know. They're not. I don't think there's playoffs in the future. But if you want me to put my optimistic hat, you should beat Vegas. You're not beating Baltimore at Baltimore. You could, but if it turns into a shootout, I'm taking the Ravens because we have no defense. At the Chargers, that's a tricky game, but you can win that football game. Home against the Steelers, I don't know. Steelers have a good defense. I'm afraid about that. Russell Wilson could probably cook us. At Dallas, that's a toss-up. At Tennessee, Titans are not good. They have a decent defense. Brian Callahan knows the Bengals because he's the head coach of Tennessee. That's not a gimme. They can win that football game as well. Home against Cleveland, Jameis Winston, if he played against the Bengals last week, I think the Browns would have won that football game. Just saying. Look what they did against the Ravens. And then Denver at home, I think Bo Nix has lived up to not expectations, but it's like he is exceeding expectations of what his rookie season is in Denver. 5 wins and 5-3. They have a good defense. That's not a gimme game. And at Pittsburgh to end the season. You look at those games, you say, oh, they're winnable, but no, they I see probably 4 wins. And that has the Bengals at 7-10 to end the season. I don't know, but 10 wins does get you in the playoffs, maybe in the AFC. Well, I don't think the AFC is as strong this year. So I agree with Joe. 10 wins does get you in the playoffs, but can I see the Bengals winning 7 out of 9? Not with this defense, and not with this play calling and scheming, and not with that head coach. Absolutely not. So, yeah, I'm out. I'm out. These lost
No, I mean,
after
you're
they
right.
lost the
And
Ravens.
you're definitely right. And I think most years I would agree with you. Generally speaking, 10-7 is good enough to get in the playoffs with this AFC. But the problem with that is we would have to be the only team that's 10-7 because we are not going to win any of the tiebreakers. We're going to have a shit divisional record. We're going to have a shit AFC conference record. We're going to lose every single tiebreaker. And so the only way we'd get in at 10-7 is if everyone else is 9-8 or worse. So, and I don't trust that that will be true. So I do not like our chances, especially because, I mean, Vegas also is no good. So, like, let's be honest, like, we should win this game. That doesn't mean that we're going to. We know this, but like, let's say that we beat Vegas, right? Now we're 4-5. So now we're 4-5, and we'd have to go 6-2 against our toughest stretch of the season. I don't think that just doesn't seem likely to me. I agree because we're going to coach ourselves out of any close game. We're going to make horrendous decisions. We're going to try to be way too cute on fourth downs. And in the fourth quarter, we're going to burn a timeout on the second play of the first drive because we're going to do some dumb shit. Like, it's for this season specifically, I don't think that we can make the playoffs because I think that we squandered opportunities to beat teams that are worse than us this year. I think that the Eagles exposed more nationally to the league how to beat us, which is run the ball a bunch and just attack the defense in a bunch of different ways. And, you know, any team that has a remotely good offensive line, we're cooked. Like, they're going to put up 30 points because we can't get pressure. And I just feel like the formula for beating us is so widely advertised and easy to see for us on defense. And Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, and when T. Higgins are healthy, Sicky and all, and our offensive line actually has been playing decent this year for the most part on pass plays at least. Struggled a little bit on runs. Chase Brown's been playing well when we give him somewhat of an opportunity to get at least to the line of scrimmage. We have good players. On offense especially, we have a couple on defense, but the problem is it's the coaching, it's the player development, and it's the drafting, and it's just the general organization. The things that we've been talking negatively about the organization about for years now are all rearing their heads right now. We're drafting guys that are developmental projects, but then can't develop them for shit. We sign a bunch of very, very cheap guys that we just hope can turn around and kickstart their career. Very rarely works out when that stuff happens. And the development, I mean, I mentioned the development a little bit with people we're drafting. And then we don't pay guys like Jamar Chase. I don't think Joe Burrow is going to request a trade. I think, honestly, I think he's the type of guy that would stay in a bad situation in this league and just like not re-sign his contract, but I don't think he's the kind of guy that would request to be traded. And I don't think that the organization would trade him. I don't think that's really on the table. What I think is on the table is that we gut the entire coaching staff. And I would not be opposed. I would actually be for. Again, nothing against the man himself. But Zach Taylor's just not qualified to be an NFL head coach. He's not good at it. He's, shown time and time again, year after year, that he's going to make ridiculous decisions with play calling. He's going to have an elementary, diversity of run and pass. He has very little good scheme that we're working with on offense. And he's been elevated because of Joe Burrow and because of Jamar Chase being as good as they are, that it makes his offense look so much better than they are. But the head coach things, timeout management, clock management, preparing your team to play against the opponent, making halftime adjustments. The only thing that I would say he's been really good at as a head coach has been we don't get a lot of penalties. That's honestly his best head coach responsibility that he's at. I can give him props for that. Hooray. But we got blown out by 20 and we had one penalty. So as much good as that's getting us. What I mean to say is I don't know if we're going to do it, but if we get rid of Zach Taylor and let Joe Burrow decide who our next head coach is, that's the only way I think we salvage this opportunity without just completely ruining the Joe Burrow era. I think if Joe Burrow gets basically to pick the offensive coordinator, if possible, and the head coach, or at least be in the rooms with those discussions, I think he sticks around. I think Jamar Chase sticks around. And I think we have a different shot. But I think this season is kind of a wash. I think if we lose to the Raiders, it's definitely a wash. And I think the organization quit on the year already too. Let's be honest, because I know that we're not the type of team that makes a lot of trade deadline moves, but 0 trade deadline moves. If you thought that you had a shot and were a piece or two away, you got to call somebody and ask about some of these guys. You're telling me there's not a single edge rusher on the trade market that we could give? I swear I feel like I'm talking way too much about this point now, and this has gone on for so long. So I'm going to let you talk about the Raiders here in a sec. But my last point is just that I swear every trade I look at now, it's these really, really good players for 4th or 5th round draft picks. You can take all my 5th round draft picks. I do not care about them. I don't want them. I would trade every single 5th, 6th, and 7th round pick we have for an edge rusher that we could keep around to help Trey, because that completely changes how our defense is able to play. That's it.
No, Tommy, they gotta protect their draft picks, because those draft picks are gonna be very vital for the team in the future.
Okay? Genuinely, I'll have to look this up maybe while you're talking about the Raiders stuff. But if I looked at every 5th, 6th, and 7th round draft pick in Bengals franchise history, there can't be more than 2 that were really good. I can't think of a single one.
Before McPherson was a 5th round draft pick, right?
Kickers, I'm not counting kickers, because kickers never get drafted before that. I'm gonna look this up while you start talking about that.
All right, so Las Vegas Raiders Sunday 1 p.m. on Fox. The Raiders lost to the Chiefs last week, 27-20. Their best win of the season was a Week 2 upset on the road against Baltimore. They came back in that football game. Gardner Minshew, journeyman quarterback. So far this year, he's passed for 1,377 yards, 6 touchdowns, 8 picks. So the Bengals defense want to get some turnovers in this football game. Gardner Minshew can give you that. He has a 67.6% completion percentage. The running backs is Alexander Madison and Zamir White. So those running backs are probably let's go, get to run against the Bengals trash run defense. Perfect opportunity for them to go off. And then the tight end that I really wanted in this year's draft, Brock Bowers, leads the league in receptions with 52 as a tight end. Now, I get it. they traded Devontae Adams, and they still got Jacoby Myers and Trey Tucker, but I did not expect the Raiders to heavily feature. I mean, I knew Brock Bowers was going to be featured a lot on their offense, but 52 receptions as a tight end, as a rookie, that's crazy. But good for him. He'll probably go off in this football game. So if you have Brock Bowers in your fantasy, or if he's in the whatever you call it, like the open list, I don't know why he should be. I don't know if he's in the open list, but if you have him, play him on Sunday. Okay, play him on Sunday. So he has 535 receiving yards and 1 touchdown. Talk about Jacoby Myers and Trey Tucker. Trey Tucker, Bearcat. He has speed. He's a dual threat. And then the Raiders defense is pretty much led by Max Crosby, who doesn't want to be here, but he has 6.5 sacks on the season. I really don't know what to say. What are the keys to victory? But obviously, you need a win. But I think the Bengals have to win convincingly, just to show fans like, okay, the fans are out there that are still hopeful that there are still playoffs in the future. But you have to win a game against this Las Vegas team. You got to win convincingly. I'd say you got to win by at least like 2 touchdowns. Okay, if you do that, then it's like you tell those optimistic fans, okay, there's still a shot, even though we have a short week. We have to play in Baltimore against the Ravens on Thursday Night Football. We're going to be 4-5. We have a shot. Okay, but hey, you know what? If they're like struggling this football game, they barely win. Really, like no. If the Bengals win by like 7 or like less than 7 points, I'm gonna be like, they're gonna get absolutely annihilated on Thursday Night Football. Let's keep it a buck. So I think you got to force turnovers against Gardner Minshew, like you said. He's throwing a lot of picks this year. You got to stop the run. I think Madison is actually a good running back, so good luck on that. I think overall the team just has to. If this is a game where the Bengals have to play a complete game, I think it's this football game, because you're obviously better than the Raiders. So if you want to put all phases, offense, defense, special teams, into one football game, here it is, okay? Because after that, I don't really see this team having a complete game, because the opponents they're playing, other than the Titans, are going to be tough. And these opponents actually have really good defenses. They should win. But the fact I see that they're 8.5 point favorites, I was like, really? Okay. Give me Vegas in the points, because I think this football game, I think it'll be close in like the first half, and then maybe the Bengals might pull away in the second half and win by like 10 points, maybe. But even that, I'm just not really confident in. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm remotely not really excited to watch this football game. So what do you got?
Yeah, no, I mean, mine's going to be pretty short too. Just before I go into that, I looked, and in our, what is it, 70-year history or something, almost 60-year history that we have as an organization, through all of our 5th, 6th, and 7th round picks that weren't kickers or punters, because that's kind of an anomaly, is only 6 guys ever made a Pro Bowl. So there were some hits. I forgot TJ Hushmanzada was a 7th rounder. Ken Riley was a 6th rounder. Lamar Parrish was a 7th rounder. And there were a couple other guys that honestly I hadn't even heard of. So it's like that technically made a Pro Bowl. So it's like that's all I mean to say is that like I'm willing to trade those picks away, because 6 guys through those 3 rounds in 60 years is not a good enough hit rate for it not to be worth a guy that's proven to be good enough. So I see no point in not trading around as many of those as we want to for whoever we can get. But I agree. The Raiders are not a very good team. They're even worse now that they don't have Devontae Adams. But I think that this game, we should win, just like you said. I think it's going to look very similar to how the Giants game looked. I think we'll do pretty well on offense, but the defensive line, Max Crosby, Christian Wilkins, are going to get pressure. We know that. And we just got to do our best to play it as best of an offensive game we can, and play an A game for us. And if we play an A game on offense, we should win the game. I don't think their offensive line is all that good anyway, so we should be able to get some pressures on Gardner Minshew. He's not terrible either. I don't think he should really be like a starter, but he's probably one of the best backups in the NFL, generally speaking. And so he's not bad. And so he can make the right throws. We notoriously are not very good at guarding tight ends, so I'm sure Brock Bowers is going to have a great day because he's had a lot of great days so far in the NFL. Mm-hmm. He's been really solid. I think Joe Burrow is getting kind of sick and tired of how this season has gone, and I think that I think he genuinely believes that we still have a shot to make the playoffs. And if Joe believes it, then maybe it's possible. But we have to beat up on the bad teams when we play them, like this week. And we need to start beating some of the good teams, but we can't lose to the bad teams. The Raiders are a bad team so far this year, and we need to beat them. 0-4 at home is just so upsetting. We cannot give these fans another home loss against this bad of a team. I wouldn't be shocked if the organization just went nuclear and fired Zach Taylor if we lose this week, to be completely honest.
No chance. No chance. No way.
You're probably right. They're not going to.
No way.
I would love that.
I mean,
we cannot lose.
Oh, yeah. I think if they lose on Sunday, then I think changes will happen that week. However, I just think Zach Taylor is not going to get fired this year. And then if he doesn't perform well next year, then I think they'll be like, okay, maybe we might have to start having those conversations. You know, I wish they would have been doing that right now, but yeah.
Yeah, you know what sucks about that though?
What?
If we wait, so I think you're probably right. I think they're going to use Lou as a scapegoat, and then keep Zach Taylor is probably more accurate of what would happen. Not that Lou's been coaching super well, but I don't think it's necessarily his fault. Like that the players just aren't there for him to run the type of defense he wants. Next year, if we wait till the end of next year to potentially fire Zach Taylor, Joe Burrow turns 29 next season. And not that that's old, quarterbacks have been playing a little bit later and stuff like that, but realistically, most quarterbacks that aren't, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning are heading out at about 35, which would only give us 6 years left of the Joe Burrow era career to get something done. I just feel like we've already waited too long to make a decision that needs to be made here. And I know that the organization is not coming to me for advice, but I feel like we need to. I just feel like that change needs to be made.
Yeah, I know I'm with you because I think Joe won't you can just tell by his demeanor after the game, he's just like, oh my gosh, do I have to keep doing this all the time? Keep losing games right. Like this, and it's like I'm doing the best I can. This is my best season so far as a pro, and we're 3-5, and it's like, wow, I have no running game. My defense stinks. I have coaches that can't come up with a good running scheme, all that stuff, and the organization's not giving me enough. What the fuck are we doing? I don't think Joe's the type of player, like you said, to request a trade. But if this happens again next year, I think I know how he's very low key, but I think he'll start to speak up. I think he'll be like, okay, this is unacceptable. I don't know if this is not who we are. The standard is Super Bowl bust. His whole window is his whole career. He said that after they beat the Raiders in that playoff game in 2021. But the standard is right now, it's just we're fine. We're fine with being here. Yeah, we're not going to make deadline deals. It's we want to protect our draft picks. Okay. But 0-4 at home, fans are on edge right now. Fans are on edge. And this city is they're a passionate bunch. They really are. And we don't want to be here. We want to be winning championships. But if you're not putting out a championship contender on the field year by year, I think they're just staying complacent because of the Super Bowl run in 2021 and then going back to the AFC title game in 2022. So it's they're just living off that. It's quit living off that. It's in the past. right now, this team is not a Super Bowl team. Not with these players on this roster. Like, what are we doing?
All right.
Okay, I think this podcast has gone overboard as always, but we just got a lot to say because we're just passionate fans, and we're just sick and tired of seeing our teams just being average and not being cared for. It's like, nah, we're just gonna just put that product out there and just continue to just give the money to them. As always, instant reaction podcast after the Raiders game. I hope they win. I really do. I really do hope they win. So you'll be back next week. We'll do a podcast recap of this game against the Raiders, and then quick turnaround Thursday night against Baltimore. So that should be these next. What is it? Wednesday. These next 8 days are going to be interesting. It really is, and it's going to tell a lot of the direction of this organization, where it wants to go. Because if you lose Sunday, you ain't beating Baltimore on Thursday night, and then all hell's going to break loose. Anything else before we leave?
Nah, I agree. We should win this week. I hope we win this week. Give the dang home fans a W for them to watch.
Seriously, my gosh. All right, man. Let's just hang in there. I think we've seen worse times, but this just feels different because we have Joe, and it's like they're just ruining this. It just feels like they are.
Yeah.
And they don't care. They don't. They really don't. All right, brother. Till next time. We're out.
Good luck out there.